What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 6 of Darknet Discussions. We're over that hill, headed towards 10. We're almost there, Roach.
Almost there, man. It's good to be back recording again.
Yeah, for sure. We had a hiatus right there for a little bit, but definitely good to be back making content again.
The last video was pretty good. We can just start with the fan comments like we usually do.
Yeah, for sure. So the first one was one that was looks like it was actually addressed to me, and it said, "I'm curious." It was by Supermassive Max 2, and he said, "I'm curious as to if you've ever considered using trains to send the goods over to the buyers. I remember you saying you never shipped internationally because of customs, but compared to agencies under the DHS umbrella, Amtrak security is notoriously lenient, and as someone who has rode Amtrak trains before, I can confirm that there are a handful of routes that even go into Canada. I already read that. Which is what made me think of the question. So I've never used trains to send anything, really, because it would involve, especially a passenger train, it would involve me having to carry that item onto that train. And it wouldn't be something that I would want to do. I would prefer... I'd much rather just have the feds be my drug mule. I found it I found it kind of entertaining that they were the ones that were actually the ones that were moving it for me for pennies on the dollar for what it would actually cost anywhere else. And I wouldn't be sure about the searchability. I mean, I know if the box was packaged and sealed, I don't think that they would even be able to be like, hey, we're going to open this box because USPS boxes need a warrant. But that might just be when it's in transit, when it's in the possession of a USPS employee, which is what I would assume. So that's why. But also the overhead on transporting through something through Amtrak, you have to remember there's days where you're sending out 200 packages. So hopping on an Amtrak train, a commuter train, I would have to do it, and I have the beard for it, and maybe the belly. I'd have to do it like Santa, where I hop on and I have bags and bags of boxes, goodies loaded up. So, yeah, no, that was why I never did it, because and I'd have to be on that train every day with hundreds of packages, and there's no actual meeting of the individuals that you're selling to. And if I was a Darknet buyer and I ever had like a vendor show up, like, hey man, here's your package, I live down the street, or I just felt like bringing it to you, I would be like, I don't know what you're talking about, get the fuck off my property. And that's the response I would hope to see a lot of people have if they're ever in that particular situation.
I've seen people use the Greyhound, the buses.
Yep.
Yeah, I've actually been on a bus one time in I think it was Little Rock, Arkansas, and then they got everybody off the bus, and then I guess they found something, and then this is back when they had the big old bulky printout tickets, and they made everybody hold their ticket up. But yeah, I know they did it with the Greyhound for sure.
Yeah, that was Clinton's. He's flying coke in, like, because he has a house out there, I think, in Little Rock.
But that way, I think that would be like really cheap. All you gotta do is just buy the ticket, check the bag, and just not show up.
Yeah, I mean, if you were moving weight, like if you were gonna move a key or two keys or something like that from LA to the other side of the country, then I would say that would be a much better use case for that use of public transportation than like my particular, how my logistics was set up. Like that wasn't really something that I would have utilized personally. If I was moving a couple pounds of something else to like one particular individual, like traditional drug trafficking, then yeah, I would say like trains would be a great idea.
Yeah. It would be like a very cheaper way to do it other than the trains too. I would think. But that was back when the Greyhound thing was back when everything wasn't digital. Because I remember I would like, if you're down bad and you need to get somewhere and you didn't have all the money for it up front, you'd buy the ticket a weekend ahead and then just go on that day, and the route still stayed the same. We never checked it like that back then.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So the next one I think that we had was actually kind of funny. I totally screwed that one up. So I do, for those of you that don't know, we also post these on the YouTube channel, and they have like video that I kind of just quickly edit over. And in the last video, Dan Z's 22 had said, "Fellas, the picture at 102, those are kangaroos. They look very similar, but they aren't the same. Also, sending love from Australia." You could definitely tell that I would make a horrible Australian. I don't know anything about the animals or the wildlife that are actually in Australia. I'm very much, I don't even know about the animals and the wildlife in the south of America. I'm a Yankee. I've lived in New England my whole life. So thank you for the correction. But yeah, that was a dumb mistake.
From what I hear, everything's out to kill you. Like literally everything.
It's a badass place to live then.
I mean, maybe the platypuses are out to get you too, but like, even like apparently like I've heard people like go out there and like touch the koalas and then like get syphilis. You know what I mean? And then they'll come back home and be like, I just got back from Australia and the syphilis is from touching koalas, and it's just like we'll take it.
That kind of sounds like a convenient excuse that someone would give to their wife, like oh, I got it from a toilet seat or something. Yeah, he's trying to avoid that, those crazy fees in divorce proceedings.
But yeah, well, and thank you for everybody in Australia and New Zealand and everybody out there, because there's a lot of traffic coming from it. A lot of people are listening to us from over there. So
yeah, Australia is badass.
I want to go surfing, and there's a bunch of like famous skateboarding spots out there from when I was a kid that I would like to go check out. At least I'm too old to get on there now, but should we get to the next one?
So the next one is by It's Me 75702, who says, "Does anyone else notice that whenever the feds catch a hacker, they seem to find CP on their system? Like as if they have all this knowledge in computer systems, but choose to keep that on their drive." So I think the thing I would kind of point out is, I think that if they have it on their system, right? Like right off the bat, there's something wrong with them mentally anyways. They're already sick to a big extent. So I think expecting someone who is severely messed up mentally to behave normally or like any of us would be kind of a stretch to begin with. I personally think that there's really only one cure for sexual predators like that, and it involves a bullet. That's about it. I don't think I can really say too much on YouTube and have them not take this video down. But that's pretty much my view on it. And I think right off the bat, they're screwed up to begin with. So it makes sense for them to leave it on there. And I'm glad they leave it on there, because at the end of the day, like, all those people should come with warning labels. And they do. After a conviction of that, like, you have that label for life, which is great.
I think he's talking about maybe if they planted on them or something.
Okay. All right. I mean, they'd have to really, yeah, I mean, they'd have to really hate you. But I would say, like, at the end of the day, I think they've done it. Absolutely. They broke the law in my case. So I can't say that the feds aren't going to break the law in order to catch someone, because I've seen in my own case that they absolutely are willing to break the law to catch someone. But aside from that, I would also point out that even if you haven't actually done a thing, they might not even charge you for a thing, but they can convict you and give you time for that thing. And people are like, how does that make sense? The great example of that would be Ross. Like Ross he was never convicted of trying to kill anyone. He's never convicted of trying to kill anyone. All the charges that they ever even tried to bring, and all of the rumor and the innuendo that they spread about it, yet when they sentenced him, they took that into account. They took into account something he had never even officially been found guilty of. So, I mean, will they plan something? Yeah. I mean, they'll find you. They'll use something you weren't even convicted of to sentence you. So yeah, I thoroughly believe that they would plan something on. Does that mean everyone that gets found with that kind of stuff on their computer is innocent? No, absolutely not. I think after a certain point, you can like look at a person almost, especially if you did Fed time, because there's a bunch of people that you're gonna meet when you go in there that are gonna be you're gonna see chomos, you're gonna see hardcore chomos, and they they all kind of have this, they have like-minded mannerisms between all of them, so you can kind of, once you see 100 of them and how they act, you get to a point where you can start to point them out, and pick them out. So I would say like, yeah, is it possible? Yeah, it's if that's what they're asking, like, yeah, it's definitely possible, and they'll go beyond that, like they did with Ross.
Right, like the cases, like the hacking case is super thin, and they might like bounce and escape they can't hold them, so they might as well just plant some CP on it. There's something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not like, this isn't some amazing thing that they've never done before. This is like they absolutely do, and they've had feds that were convicted, FBI agents that were convicted, in cases like that where they broke the law, but they didn't do it as intelligently as they should have. Like they screwed up their OPSEC when trying to frame someone, and ended up being found out because of it, which is great. I'm a fan of getting corrupt feds and corrupt cops off the street. Someone had asked me in a community post, do you hate all law enforcement? And I don't. I definitely don't. Like I have a mother, I have a daughter, I have family too, and like they're definitely, without question, people that absolutely deserve to be in prison, whether it's federal, state, whatever. Like there's people I don't want near my family. I don't want out roaming free that are sociopaths or psychopaths that are, or are predatory, that hurt women or children. And those people absolutely should be locked up. I have an issue when it's used to passively extort people, right? Like you're going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit in a 50-mile-an-hour zone, and they pull you over and act like you're like Mao or Stalin, or like you're the biggest criminal in the world because you did that. And it's 9 times out of 10 that I find some of the worst cops that I've ever met are typically the ones with the least power. And like for me, it's always been town cops. I found town cops or city cops to be the worst, the most ignorant, and know the least amount about the law. And then when you talk to them about it, they're like, I haven't memorized every law. I'm like, dude, you're law enforcement. Like, it's your job to understand what the law is because it's your job to enforce it, idiot.
I've been pulled over by a fucking police officer, and they asked if I had Osama bin Laden in the back of the car. I was like, yeah, in the fucking Hyundai. Want to keep him back there?
And then, like, I've seen, and this isn't definitely not a universal thing, it's just my personal experience. I've noticed that, like, stadies are actually, the ones I've had to deal with, are less worse. They're more militaristic, but they're less egotistical than the town cops that I've had to deal with. And again, this is just, you gotta have someone with a totally different perspective, and it's all, again, who you run into, with state.
Where I'm from, it's the game warden.
Yep.
It's the most powerful one. And shit, man, I've been out there fishing with no license, smoking a J, and had a cut and run from the game warden before. They can arrest you anywhere and anywhere.
Yeah, we have them up in Vermont too. Yeah, I mean, I never had a problem with them. I'm not big on the outdoors. Maybe that's why I never had an issue with them. But I think it would drive me nuts for someone to be like, do you have a fishing license? I'd be like, dude, like this is the pinnacle of your existence right here, is to save the lives of fishes. Like, fish lives matter too. Just complete kind of nonsense. It would drive me nuts. I dislike tyranny as a whole. I enjoy freedom, and it drives me nuts when I have someone who tries to act like they're a god, especially at the end of the day when you're a public servant. Like, no matter what kind of cop you are, or if you're a Fed, any of those, like, at the end of the day, you are a public servant. You swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and like, your job for law enforcement is to serve and protect. And that's changed a good amount. Now it's basically just about extortion and controlling society to some degree. Which, that's what I dislike, though. I like law enforcement that's like the policeman in the Norman Rockwell painting who helps the kid who's lost find his way home. That I have immense respect for. The law enforcement officer who de-escalates a situation and calms someone down and makes it so they don't go murder someone, as opposed to like the cop who gets out of his car and his hand's shaking. He's scared to death because he's a coward with an IQ of 100, and he pulled someone over and he just unloads into him because he's a coward. I think those are some of the worst kind of cops. I don't think it's like, imagine if you had a firefighter, you showed up to you call the fire department because your house is on fire. They show up and like the firefighters hop out and they're like, "Oh, your house is on fire," and you're like, "Yeah, like my kid's in there or something," and they're like, "Oh, well, we don't want to go in there because we're in fear for our lives." You'd be like, "Dude, why are you a firefighter?"
The most American thing would be that'd be $200 to go up in there.
But like, you never see the it's okay when cops do that, though. People like, "Oh yeah, he's in fear for his life." Like, you get this reverence and this respect as law enforcement because when everyone's running away from bullets, you're running towards them to save those people that are running away from 'em. Like, you're supposed to be brave, honorable, like all those kind of things. And if you are that and you're acting as a peace officer, like, and you're gonna treat me like a human being, I'll have all the respect for you in the world. But if you think you're God because you took the civil service exam and went to an academy for a little bit, like, I'm sorry, man, it's just not the case at all. For those of you out there, if you want to look it up, one of my favorite parts of the law is it's Title 18. It's federal, U.S. Code of Law. It's federal law, so it's applicable everywhere. But it's Title 18, Section 13, subsection 241, 242. It's deprivation of constitutional rights under color of law. It's a phenomenal law, and it governs basically police misconduct, and I never see anyone really talk about it. But go read that and memorize it, because I've used it before, and it gets them. They get fairly nervous when you tell them they're in violation of federal law and you can actually cite it. Again, like, it's I don't advise anyone to argue with the police. Like, when you're dealing with the police, one of the worst things you could do is to argue with them. You're much better off just recording it, or if you can, and suing them after the fact, or trying to enforce. Anyways, I digress. That's a side issue. I'm getting pulled way off into the left. So
It depends. Depending what you are, if you argue with them, that might just be an ass beating.
yeah, or they might just kill you.
I've had a GC cop beat the dog shit out of me before, just for being crazy, talking crazy to him. Like, that was back in the day.
Kind of another place where like, we're talking about how Australia is wild and everything's trying to. We got cities here in America that are just like that, but it's not animals, it's human beings.
That's what I was telling somebody. I was like, man, we should be shooting people like for sport. It seems like, is you know what I mean? It's like almost like sporting out here. It's like
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really sad, especially when you look at like you look at some of the other countries that don't have a lot of the same issues that we have. But again, like, I always point back to when people are like, oh, it was highest crime, which not murders, but like, one of the crazy things about freedom, and I'm not relating this to America because it's not really all that true anymore. But a lot of times, the people who are the most free are in the most danger. Kind of like a deer is free to run through the woods, but like at some point, a predator might grab it, rip its head off, and eat it. Or someone might blow its brains out, cut its head off, and stick it up on the wall. Like at the end of the day, the things that are the most free kind of face the most danger, but it's also very liberating because if you are free and there is a predator, you have options. You can fight it, you can run. What do you do if you're a sheeple, you're trapped in a pen, and the fox gets into the pen? Like there's nowhere to run to. So it's another reason why I'm an advocate of freedom. But yeah, like I'm going sideways. So one thing I wanted to get into almost right away is I have a little bit of background on two markets that I kind of wanted to cover because I know a lot of you listen just out of pure interest. You're not actually involved in the darknet or any kind of criminality. So I wanted to cover two different markets, and I'll give some statistics and facts about them. And then Roach did
some big news coming out too. Both of these had some fairly big news come out since the last episode that we came on.
Yep.
Too as well.
So, I mean, we've never seen in the history of the darknet, I've never heard about any kind of merger. Like in the corporate world, you have mergers all the time with different companies that come together or buyouts or hostile takeovers. But like, I've never seen a merger or an acquisition of one market by another market. And that's exactly what we actually had go on. And it was between a market called SuperMarket. It came into being on July 1st of 2023. And Papa Bear was one of two admins. There's one admin, Mama Bear, and Papa Bear. These are the
weird
two
names, by the way.
Yeah, definitely weird, really kind of creepo names. And the market exit scammed on about May 21st of 2024. So it lasted basically for like 10 months and 21 days if those dates are actually correct. And at one point, it was actually trending as a top 10 marketplace. As SuperMarket had a casino, right? They had an XMR one, and they had optional account needed for orders, no wallet, direct pay, automatic order, self-destruction, user-controlled order, data purging, and reduced risk finalizing early. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I've never heard of the reduced risk finalizing early. I think that's probably the thing that they're trying to push out.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that either. I was interested to know more. Maybe if someone knows about it, they can leave a comment.
Nice catchword.
Yeah, RRFE makes, yeah, it's, they just keep adding acronyms like the military. So all in all, I mean, they had a pretty, it seems like a pretty okay market. What were your thoughts on it?
They suffered, I know when the XMR bug went around with everybody's nodes got desynced or something. I don't know. So that's the thing. I have to check more on that bug. I know the DrugHub admin was explaining it to me a little better what it did because I'm so out of the loop because I'm not current with all the new technology running these markets and stuff. But apparently they took a fat loss, so they were already down a bunch of money because they lost a bunch of XMR during that whole bug thing. I never got the real explanation from them, but that's what they said. They were already on a deficit when this, when the guy, he decided to take off.
That's interesting. Yeah. So I've been getting kicked repeatedly while they're down. So I know the market really, from the statistics that I was able to pull up, which was January 9th of 2024, there were 2,144 users and 237 vendors, which is is kind of interesting considering the fact that like the other half of this story involves another site that's called DrugHub that has if SuperMarket had 254 vendors or whatever from the statistic that I saw, when I pulled up DrugHub to check out their statistics for this podcast, they had like well over 1,000 vendors.
Yeah, they're trucking along.
Yeah. Yep.
They're gaining popularity real quick.
Yeah. And from my understanding about them, they came around November of 2022, and they had something to do with White House Market. Do you want to do more about that?
All I know is it's a lot some of the staff from there, but it's not White himself. It's run by a whole different team that was working on White House, and it's now running. But the thing is if you check the old White House onions, it'll redirect you to DrugHub. So that's telling you that White co-signed on them, kind of thing.
The other thing that's interesting with DrugHub that I actually really, really like is passwordless login, which is wicked cool.
Yeah, that started on White House. That's White's doing.
I'd never seen that before.
That's pretty cool. I think that was a problem with when they did the merger. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yep, they've automated support, which kind of reminded me of Alpha 2, like Alphabet 2. Didn't they have some kind of automated technical support or something?
Audio to dispute.
Dispute resolution was automated. I thought that was amazing. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, apparently it helped a lot with the digital side of things. Apparently, like from hearing from markets that ran that before, that with a lot of the cards and stuff, that it's generally hard to make a call and it bogs down the system. So a lot of the digital moderation is done through AI and dispute things.
That's cool. Yeah. I think it's also one of the only markets that I know I've seen that has like their market wallet, like your market wallet is only for refunds.
Yeah, that was also something that came out of White House too.
I love that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, there's no central wallet where they don't hold any of the funds. They can't take it if anything, even if they tried.
Yep. And then I've seen vendors who do like selective scamming, where they'll sell a product to someone and then they'll go back afterwards and they'll change the listing description. And my understanding with DrugHub is they're one of the few that will actually save the listing description with each order.
Right.
That's phenomenal. And like all withdrawals are processed within 24 hours. Also, from my understanding, which is also again very cool. They're one of the markets that actually vets darknet vendors.
Yeah, from what I hear.
Yep, and they also have an interesting like lineup of stuff that they actually have on the site, where they have like forgeries and defense equipment and business goods and like they have like the regular fraud stuff, but like I found like weight loss and all kinds of like really kind of interesting, more unique categories on DrugHub than a lot of the other sites that I tend to look at and see stuff on.
Steroids and stuff, in case you need your cycle.
Like that was interesting, but seeing like business goods as a description, that was cool. I think that's unique. The defense equipment was also fairly unique. From what I saw, like their categories, obviously the biggest category is drugs. Mathematically speaking, it composed, from what I saw, about 84% of the listings, and the online business listings, which included stuff like fraud, was like 11%. Software comprised 1.25% of the listings on the site, and services fell in at like 2.45% of the actual site. And then like as for like narcotics, I did a survey and I checked out what was like some of the most popular narcotics on there, and from the scrapes and the surveys that I've seen done on third-party sites, it wasn't surprising that cannabis came in at number one with like 16% of all drug listings on the site being cannabis related, and specifically buds and flowers. So it's not taking into account like hash or concentrates or any other stuff. And then benzos, pills, came in at second at almost 7%, and then stimulants, specifically cocaine, at 6%. So it was a really interesting. I really like to look at things from a logical and analytical perspective, if you can't tell.
Right.
So it was interesting kind of seeing the exact percentage of what's out there on there, and it is typical of most darknet markets to kind of have that breakdown. But I appreciated the extra categories and the unique features of the market. I think definitely make it stand out, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the last podcast where you were talking about D-Snake, and you were saying that D-Snake had said at one point that one of the things that you have to do with a market if you want it to go anywhere is to have those things that no one else has, or that are very, very unique or cutting edge or being a trailblazer, basically.
Yeah, that was Alpha 2. But yeah,
Okay.
you,
All right.
you gotta have something revolutionary that sets you apart from everybody else. And then a lot of the stuff came from White House, but White House was revolutionary, and I mean they're doing new things too, I think, over here.
Yep.
But yeah,
You had written an article that was on your site it was really, really well written, by the way. But can you tell us about that article that you wrote, and what ended up happening with with SuperMarket and DrugHub? Like, I've got a little bit of background now. What actually happened with these two markets?
so first off, about the article. This is kind of like a historical thing. So obviously, like when I'm trying to document anything, I want to really get a good look at things. And now the writing and stuff is going to be a lot better on the site. But I talked to everybody involved to try to get as much info and get everything correct, because you need to set the record straight pretty much. So what happened is Incognito, the admin from there, he got popped. And then another market, Empire Market, both of those admins, they got arrested, like, I think 2023, but I guess that everything came together. So they finally put the big charge on them for running the market. So what happened was I guess Father Bear just went into the central wallet and took everything and absconded with it.
And he was the admin on SuperMarket, right?
Yeah, he was one of the two. They had access to the wallets and the database and everything. So he let the other one high and dry.
Was there any mention of why, or any kind of speculation as to why he did that?
I think it's because all those people got those life sentences, man.
He's scared to death. He's scared to death.
Yeah, if you see people catching L's and they're not coming out, yeah, he saw that and probably shit his pants and took what he could and ran. Which, I mean, yeah, I think anybody would be scared. I mean, I was talking to Paris about it, and he was saying most of these admins that stay now, that they ain't got nothing to lose.
Yep.
Knowing that you're going to get a life, because for a while, he was like, well, Monopoly admin got that 13-year life. Not that 13 years. I thought everybody thought for a second it was going to be sweet until, boom, all these L's start coming around.
Yeah, and for the record, those L's are given to people because the kingpin statutes is what they call them, and it's a continuing criminal enterprise, which is like you can run a business that doesn't kill anyone, but if you get hit with that, the max they can give you is a life sentence. Absolutely no joke whatsoever.
Yeah, and then not to mention, like, not only are we've seen people, they're getting them in other countries and damn near kidnapping them and flying them back over here. they'll go get you or they'll wait for you to come in. I mean, because like the Oxy Monster, which we'll talk about a whole nother day. But yeah, he was flying in and in Atlanta on the way to like a beard growing festival thing competition,
Yeah, contest.
which is yeah. Anyway, they caught him in Atlanta coming in because Atlanta's a big one. So they got this other guy in JFK. So what happened was the market, SuperMarket, was already running a deficit. They were already
And that's from the XMR, them getting jacked for XMR, right?
the XMR bug, yeah. And then so they're running a deficit already. And then the news came out, I guess whatever was in there, the one admin took off and left everybody holding the bag, which often happens. That's like a very normal thing almost around the Darknet Markets places. So yeah, they just said I think it was the market was small enough where it was able to be absorbed, but with big enough name. Well, I don't know. I think Mama Bear deleted most of that Dread stuff. I think, right?
Yeah, I'd seen a bunch of that. Yeah, a bunch of it deleted. I had to look at the timestamps to figure out when the actual specific announcements were made about it.
But yeah, I guess he just came out and probably just told Paris or Hugman or whoever.
So that was the other thing. Like Paris, Hugbunter, they had a hand, a pretty big hand apparently in this merger, in coordinating it at least from a logistical like standpoint. Like they were Darknet Market admins. Like they had a because they had a vested interest in making sure the community there was the biggest amount of harm reduction done that they could possibly do. Do you like how is that how that was coordinated? What they figured out in terms of like what ended up happening?
Well, I talked to Paris about it, and what he was saying was he pretty much was just to oversee just the messages between SuperMarket and DrugHub guys. So he was just putting it together. I don't think he did. I don't think he came with the terms. He didn't come up with any of the terms or anything. That was between both of them. But yeah, he got the meeting place together, and when I guess the DrugHub guy was like, well, maybe we could absorb it. He was the one that brought it to the Mama Bear guy, and yeah, so they merged, and then yeah, it took a little bit because from talking to the guy who was saying it was that it was a pain in the ass because as you could tell, the DrugHub and White House Market logins is PGP key only, where this was didn't have it. Merger was rather difficult because the database had different workflows and structures, and probably the schema was a whole lot different. So getting all those together where it would both seamlessly work was a task in itself.
That sounds like a task. I definitely don't envy him. It'd be interesting to know like why DrugHub. I mean, stepping up to take responsibility for a totally different darknet market, screwing over its users. And from my understanding, just for the record, like big shout out and big time respect to the darknet market, Mama Bear, if it's actually a different admin than Papa Bear, because you never actually know. But if it is, and Mama Bear's actually told the truth about Papa Bear stealing all the funds and leaving, big time respect to whoever that person is in real life for actually sticking around to make to try to make the users who were negatively affected compensated for the loss that they had, and obviously even much more bigger kudos to DrugHub for taking on. I mean, it's like you have a friend and he goes and he bets, he goes to Vegas and he loses all his money, and then he bets his house and he loses his house, and now his wife and his kids are going to be homeless. And like you step up and you say, "Oh no, I got you," and you just pay off the mortgage and give the house to the wife. Like that's pretty much what DrugHub did in this scenario, where they took over probably a crazy amount of debt. This from SuperMarket, who first gets robbed, like they get robbed because of this XMR bug, and then like if that's not bad enough, the admins rob the site, rob the users themselves, and take off. Like I mean, I think this is probably one of the only times where we're gonna have a darknet market administrator, i.e., Mama Bear, who, when they finally log off that alt forever, they're like, "I'm never gonna be a market admin again." And it's not because they're retiring or they made a killing or they're arrested. They're just like, "Man, this is way too stressful."
They made a point that he out of this whole merger that he was going to get nothing out of it too. So there wasn't like he sold
Yep.
anything to him or not. It was like handed over,
I
do
mean,
the right thing type thing.
a crazy amount of honor. In the, again, if Mama Bear is actually really a separate person, crazy amount of honor that. Crazy amount of honor, I would say, in DrugHub, assuming the debt of another market, and I mean, that shit is just crazy, man. I have never heard of a story like that where the one market completely just takes it on the chin for another market who screwed over their users. But man, I have to say, like them doing that, being the first to ever take on and do something kind of that noble, I guess. I mean, we're
Well,
talking about
PR. There's a lot of PR there too.
yeah, and that, I definitely agree with that. But I'm saying, like, you could get good PR a lot cheaper than take that debt. So that's what real, but maybe that's what really makes it unique. At the end of the day,
I mean, I think it was a home run from a business standpoint. You know,
yeah,
it was the PR is good. It's good for the users. It's good for the community. So it's like a win-win-win everywhere.
yep,
I mean, that's why I think it's definitely worth to talk about, because it's like it's not every like 4 or 5 years you'll see something that's monumentally historic.
yeah. I think it's something that inspires a lot of hope. We see a lot of negative stuff, man. I mean, the vast majority of the stuff we're going to see on the darknet is going to be negative. Exit scams, cons, selective scams, all those kind of things where people are getting screwed over, conned, ripped off. So that's why I said, man, like it's, especially after you see all these markets exit scamming and trying to extort people that were all like just incredibly new lows of a market admin being a scumbag. Exit scamming is one thing, then extorting members, making it even worse. And now we kind of see that rebound, like the pendulum that swings. It swings all the way over to the left, where you have this one guy who is just a complete scumbag, trash, garbage, robs all his vendors and customers, and then turns around and extorts them. And then and then like he gets popped and he's screwed based off his charges. And then the pendulum swings kind of all the way to the other side, and now you have this market that like these people get screwed over, and this market's like, "Hey, man, we got you." I think that's incredible. I think that's definitely something that's worth talking about and celebrating. And it's not something that we really see. I don't see anyone else that talks about darknets really talking about this. And I think it's just because it's not like, oh, that's not sexy. I mean, like everyone, when when we saw the extortion going on, everyone was on that. You saw like just regular news outlets talking about the Darknet market admins extorting users. But
But it comes from all sides too, because like one of the big, we're talking about cons, like I think, and I know we're kind of doing a story, and it's going to be up on the sites. And one of the biggest cons ever of the darknet market is that super list.
Yep.
That's literally one of the biggest. So many people, if you like really look at that thing and what's going on behind there, like
Yep.
that is by hands. More people have lost money to that super list because of that thing than anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics.
That's what I'm saying. No, I wouldn't pay attention. That super list is garbage, and the whole thing behind it. So I'll talk about so there's cons all over the place, like you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sad, especially when the cons are from semi-reputable places or semi-reputable sources, and like it's like when Darkfail got hijacked, right? Didn't Dark Drug got hijacked for a little bit, and
Yes.
they put up phishing links. Like that's exactly what I'm talking about. And it's just that's the really scary thing at the end of the day is like it can take you 20 years to build a reputation and 5 seconds to completely destroy it. And like in the case of Darkfail, for example, that wasn't actually something that they did. That they didn't do anything wrong. It's just like the supermarket didn't do anything wrong. By someone exploiting the bug, they just didn't know about it. And didn't have time to correct it. And it it happens. It's like data breaches. I cover them on a regular basis on doingfedtime.com, but like data breaches happen every day. And we're talking about companies that invest hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in security. Like, and that's one of the big points that I try to get across with a lot of my stuff is that there's no such thing as 100% safe. Like, that's why you'll never hear me say like, oh, I'm a security expert, or you'll never hear me say like you'll be 100% safe doing this, because anyone that tells you that is a moron and doesn't understand the basics of security. A determined enough adversary will absolutely get in. You could have the most secure house in the world, and a thief who knows enough, he'll get in, or has enough time, or has enough resources, will get in. And that's the really scary thing. But it was really, really, really refreshing, man, to see a darknet market. I mean, a darknet market, even just the term itself is kind of ominous. Step up and do something like that. I would absolutely consider that honorable, taking care of people who you had no obligation to actually take care of. The amount of money that probably cost them was probably really significant. Yeah, they get some PR for that, and that's cool, but like I don't think it I don't know. I don't I don't see I don't really see the ROI in it. Like they could have just said, "Hey, screw it. Let's keep this money. We'll use it for operational costs. We'll maybe because we don't actually know what the numbers were. We don't
Right.
know what Papa Bear actually took. So, I mean, say just whatever. Let's say it's 100,000. How much PR could you get for 100 grand? I would say a lot.
Yeah.
It doesn't it doesn't cost much to rent bots or to outsource people to make posts or reviews or discuss, like, so it's really interesting that they went probably the most honorable route they could. And like I have I have no affiliation with any of these markets, so I really don't care. But it's nice, as someone who talks about the darknet on a regular basis, it's really nice to see something nice come from something so dark.
And it's crazy to me to watch like when we started. I think I alluded a little bit to this on the article, but when we started with Ross and the Silk Road, and how it was like hippie to be libertarian to now where markets are acting like full blown corporations, and they're probably making before they close up like Burial, his markets, what they were saying looks like an S&P 500.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah, hundreds of millions, yeah, absolutely.
So it's crazy to see how uh it's come to fruition for where we're at this full circle where it's just straight up acting like a corporation.
And speaking of corporations, so we had a merger, right? And a kind of a buyout slash merger between SuperMarket and DrugHub. And then we also had another market, which was known originally, I'm going to call it a fish market, we had Fish Market, which also rebranded recently and just surpassed 10,000 users. The growth, which they say is completely organic. They say that they do no marketing gimmicks. They don't use any marketing gimmicks. And it's all just market dynamics and fair competition.
They were Go Fish. That was the original name of it.
I thought it was Fish, and they went to Go Fish.
No, it was Go Fish originally. That's why their dread says Go Fish, but they went to Fish Market. I think somebody made a comment where it's like to name your market Go Fish from the card game.
Yep.
Like but they do a lot of games and stuff, and I think game wise that's what they're trying to like. That's what's revolutionary about them. It's what I think what they're doing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, well, they got like uptime. They've already beaten the SuperMarket. SuperMarket was like 10 months and 21 days, and these guys are like, I think it's like a year and 8 months at this point.
Right. It's been up for a while, and it's one of those. It's really easy to get on there too. What I noticed too, versus all these other ones, it takes forever to fucking get past all these checks and blocks and stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I did an article on them too, but yeah, the thing about them is their games. I think that's what they're trying to do there, and like also, so the thing about them is they just opened up a whole sports betting and a different type of betting system where you can bet like on like politics, and you can bet like on world bets, and like they have the thing where I thought it was funny, it's celebrity, where you can bet on like which market's gonna access the game before which. Would you see something that came from Market Type actually? That was the first to do it, but they have it over here.
Yep.
But the one also I find interesting is the business. You can bet on like almost like stocks. I guess bet that GME's gonna hit this, or I guess or whatever stock or crypto's gonna hit something. Yeah, and then they also have like a thing they call Catfish Bingo. I've played like 2 hands of it. It was pretty cool. I won both of them, by the way. But yeah, I definitely won on the Catfish Bingo. But they have different games, and that's the thing. It's like I was talking to the guy because I saw their posts, and I was just like, well, is there anything you want to add to it? And that's that. And then I was telling them, I was like, they were telling me about how they're gonna add the sports bet, and then I was like, what? It's crazy you put both of them together, but I think that would be like really cool. Like you get casinos, like slot machines and stuff.
Yep.
Once again, acting like a corporation, but this one is acting like a casino corporation, which I think is, if you don't really buy drugs, not into drugs, you can still make money or do stuff, you know?
You're gonna have people that hop on that absolutely claim their winnings and pay taxes on it.
And then I was thinking, I was just like, what if this becomes a big trend? You know, because obviously we're reporting on it. This is news. And then like thinking about it, if it becomes a big trend. Well, most of these betting sites, if they smell a fix, that they're going to report it. In, you know, markets like this and doing stuff like this, you could fix things and probably bet on there that no one's going to say shit about it.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to point out is like at the end of the day, if you pay good enough attention to like threat actors and cyber threat intelligence, for example, seeing what data breaches happen when, you can you can make some pretty good estimates sometimes about how that's going to negatively affect a company or corporation or even a governmental entity by them getting owned, basically.
Right. And then every time I think of like a betting too, I wonder how expansive they're gonna be. But I always think about this one guy. He was a British guy, and he would talk about he would fix the kids' league games, the soccer games. I was like, man, I was thinking, like, that's a catch though, because it's gambling.
Yep.
this way you don't have to do your ID or this and that. And I think it would be a hit to expand on casinos and bring it in. I've seen people do poker. That there was a poker game going around for a little bit, but I just don't trust those. I wouldn't play a poker game, an XMR poker game, or anything because I'll just think that the guy he can see all my cards.
Yeah, it'd be like roulette. Yeah.
But with sports betting and stuff, there's no way to, unless you got it fixed, there's no way to, even the admins and stuff couldn't fix it unless they just don't pay.
Yep.
But yeah, that was interesting. That was also kind of in the news the last couple weeks. And then, what else was it? I saw the other day that was also in the news. The dark matter market. They had a bunch of FUD going around.
Yeah.
And
So by CodeIsLaw, I've talked to CodeIsLaw a couple times. And I like him. I don't think that him coming out. So basically, like what happened was, he came out and pointed out support staff being AFK. Pointed out reports of staff not responding or not responding promptly. He pointed out that there were like unresolved issues, like tickets for well over 24 hours, withdrawal issues, which is a major, major red flag for Darknet Market busts, but especially, obviously, exit scams. So he's pointing out issues with that. He was pointing out that there's also, I think he was pointing out, there's a bunch of people that were pointing out that withdrawals were remaining unresolved and that the site was unresponsive, that it was down for a couple hours. And that, I mean, anytime a site goes down, you're going to automatically have people who are going to freak out. Now, a lot of those people are going to freak out and literally say the market's exit scamming and really not point to anything specific or concrete. And with him, I mean, he pointed to a couple of different, like legitimate beefs that really are kind of indicators that there's a serious problem in existence. So him saying what he said, I think it was great that he pointed it out and blew the whistle. And I know he's getting people are talking all kinds of crap now on Dread, like, oh yeah, like because the staff came out and there's other things too, like the public mirrors moved for their site were offline for like 3 hours, but it still, like, all those things raise suspicion. And like there was the canary hadn't been updated and when it was supposed to be updated, and like that added to it apparently. And like the user reviews were allowed to be re-edited after they were made, which raised additional issues about integrity.
That's weird.
Yeah, and so I mean, admins from what I got from it, like basically ignored the warnings and issues, and took a while to respond, and eventually they did respond. Quasar 1, which is his username on Dread, ended up responding and kind of clearing up, offering some counter arguments, talking about how like the public mirrors, they were down for about 3 hours, but they were restored and withdrawals were restored within like 10 minutes. There was no systemic issues, and that only like 4 to 5 users had actually experienced issues, kind of like what he was talking about, and that the issues were mostly resolved, and that the failure to basically that they were committed to fixing the failures. And they said ticket response is going to be faster, fewer tickets now over the last 24-hour period. And they encouraged PMs for unresolved tickets. But like, it's still really, there was still, I think, some things that weren't completely addressed. Like, there was a mention of the site being unresponsive, right, for a couple hours, but like,
Right.
he didn't, like, he said, he was like, they were AFK. Like, oh yeah, that's when we were AFK. And I'm like, dude, what, but why? Like, I don't, like, that just didn't make sense to me. Like, you don't need to be at your keyboard for your public mirrors to work.
Well, I think everybody's just super, super, super shell shocked with everything going on. It's good to be vigilant, but yeah, everybody's just super shell shocked. So yeah,
Yeah, but
everyone's gonna trip, I
I
think.
mean, his responses, like they were, the three main points were basically the public mirrors being offline, the withdrawal issues, and staff absence. But like I said, there were little like things like that I noticed, and like yeah, like you're definitely going to have people on edge, but you're gonna have people on edge anyways, man. Like I don't care if we go back to 2017, this happens, you're still gonna have the same thing, except it's probably gonna be me yelling about how the market went to, like it's just that's I think it's good that we have people in the community that are like, dude, this isn't right. There's something wrong here. Now, for the record, my personal views on dark matter are really complimentary. I actually really, really, really like the market. I think XMR only is absolutely amazing. Wallless, accountless, absolutely awesome, amazing. It's the only market that exists with XMR multisig, from my understanding, which, I mean, come on, like, why, how is that? And as they have escrow services and private shops, and they have some of the, they have a really good education section as well. So I definitely, I really like dark matter market as a market, but like, I think everyone should chill out, flipping out on a guy who is basically just trying to say, hey, here are some issues. It's not like he was screaming, talking about a bunch of nonsense or just making a bunch of wild accusations. He was actually pointing at some things that legitimately are indicative of a much bigger problem most of the time. So CodeIsLaw should get like an award for trying to be vigilant in pointing out issues that may arise in the community instead of people, because it's so like everyone always wants to talk shit after the fact. It's like a market exit scams, and like, you always have these idiots on there who are like, I knew it was gonna happen. I was telling people weeks ago, and like look at their post history, and they never said anything about it. Just nonsense to try to make themselves look good on an anonymous darknet forum, which is pathetic.
You remember the old days? The old days of the old panic where be like people would be like making posts and stuff about, I got a front for like 3 kilos and now they're all gone and I'm gonna die. Now you don't see those posts anymore on like in the market exit scams. I'm gonna jump off the top of my roof today because I can't get my money. That was the old days.
I see what I see. I see a lot of I described this in one of my videos. In one of my videos, I forget which one it was. If someone's listening to this on YouTube and they know what it is, please leave it in the comment section and I'll pin it. But I did a breakdown of the the 5 stages of grief, but I did it with with the darknet. So like you have people who are so desensitized at this point to exit scams and stuff that like they it's the slightest thing, the market went down for 5 minutes, yep, they're done, and they'll literally just keep it pushing, move it on to the next market, and they'll never go back to that market. So like, but that's why, man, it's so like important. Like if you're running some of these markets make 100+ mil, man. So like, hey, listen, if you're gonna run this business, dude, like yeah, you shouldn't have unannounced downtime. Like, and that shouldn't be some crazy concept to you. Oh, we can't ever have unannounced downtime. Well, you can, but it's going to have a negative effect. And like, you're dealing with people who have been dealing with this. Some people have gotten lost tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Some people, like, it's had, yeah, it has real effects. Losing money sucks, man. Getting ripped off sucks, and people get callous about it, and typically they tends to be a more and more of a move towards zero tolerance policy when it comes to individuals being willing to tolerate BS from darknet markets. And that's especially true when there are things that are especially indicative of things like exit scams, like unannounced downtime or staff that were responsive not being responsive, which is why, like, if you hop on a darknet market and you message staff and they don't respond to you, if that happens to me as a vendor or as a buyer, I would never even use that market, because I'm like, okay, how can I gauge if you're getting ready to exit scam? It's like when I as a darknet buyer, when I went to go make a buy, what I would do is I would compare all my prices. I would take a look at, obviously price point was a huge factor to me. Me specifically, I would look for US to US, so there's no customs. But once I had a list of a bunch of different vendors, I would hit them up and I would just ask them a stupid generic question. I would write 20 vendors and I would say, "Hey, is your cannabis organic?" and I would just sit back and I'd be like, the first, like, all these guys have good prices that I'm willing to do business on. So the first one that hits me back, his name goes at the top of the list. Second one, he's second, third, fourth. Now what I've done is I've taken that list of 10 or 20 and reduced it to 2 to 5. And then from there, those are going to be the guys that I'm going to follow continually,
Right.
because I know that if I have an issue, they're going to respond back to me. It's like, it's funny because, like, when I was a vendor, like, I couldn't compete with price point. So that's how I competed. I competed with, like, being active in the forums, which builds a reputation. You do that by being helpful. If you're continually helpful to people, it turns out people like that. If you're pointing out someone in the forums who's like, "I'll sell you a pound of weed for $500. Send me, this is my jabber or whatever." I'd be like, "Dude, like, this dude's trying to get you off the forum because there's no escrow. That's why he doesn't have a vendor account. Like, he's gonna burn you." You know what I mean? And, like, when you do stuff like that, like, you put good out there, and I don't want to make it like a karma thing because it's a bunch of nonsense. But I think when you act like that and you promote that kind of positive stuff, it kind of, I hope that it goes in like a circle. And I definitely know it pisses scammers off because I've had a ton of them flip out on me. Like, it's nuts, man.
I don't know if it's just because I've been doing tons of research and just been like cramming data and I've been working on this thing. But dude, I'm telling you, man, it's like also that who gets with the super list thing. It's like it's being gatekeeping. You know what I mean? And it's bad for the
Yeah,
markets when you're
we gotta save that. You gotta save that. You gotta save that.
okay.
Yeah,
We'll save that one. Yeah.
because that's gonna be like a whole special, dude.
Wait,
You
okay.
know,
Yeah. Okay.
oh,
We'll
so
save. I guess we also want to congratulate Captain Blackbeard for hit 20 episodes.
20 episodes, man. No doubt. He'll be with his next episode. He'll be able to drink legally.
Oh, for real?
You get it? He's 21. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We had to get him. We had to get him some rum.
Right. But I quit drinking, so I can never like I now I have to force all that stuff out of my head. Been on the wagon for about like 2 weeks now.
Nice. That's what's up, man. Congrats. That's a big deal, dude. That's not a small thing nowadays. That's like one of the things I find that the, like you say, like the control grids that exist, the powers that be, that it's a lot easier to govern stupid people who their proclivities and their hang-ups prevent them from growing in different ways. And I find that's why the only thing that I do is drink coffee. In closing, I would say congrats to Captain Blackbeard. Big time props to DrugHub for them taking on that massive expense and taking care of all those people who were screwed over. And it's really great to see Darknet Market up, and they're doing well. I hope CodeIsLaw is also doing well.
Yeah, I was talking to him when he posted that. It was good times. I think people were getting all upset about. I just think everybody's still really, really shell shocked with this. This has been a really big year.
I think
So
it's
far with, like,
easy
Nez
to.
and
I also think it's really, really easy to turn around and tell someone hindsight's 2020 after that. Yeah. So everyone's like, oh well, like, oh, they're basically telling him to eat his words. Oh, you said it was gonna be crazy, and they were definitely gone. Oh, what's it like now? And I'm like, dude, like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, you're clowning a dude who was trying to warn you of something that's happened repeatedly throughout history. That's not like this last year. I mean, this has happened repeatedly.
right.
So like, I just want to like people like that. You just want to slap and be like, man, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you have what have you been on here for 2 weeks? What, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, this dude, I mean, CodeIsLaw, dude. I don't know if he wants like it to be put out there, so I'm not gonna put it out there like that. But I mean, he's contributed in other ways. Like he has a link site. If I tell you what, man, if you're watching this, like, let us know if we can put that out there, and I'll put that out there. I'll talk about it. Because it's always cool to see people who do stuff for the community, and I think that should be encouraged. And like, man, when someone's wrong, we should look at like it should be something that we learn from, not something that we ridicule them for. Because at the end of the day, no inventor went to go invent something and made it perfect right away, or maybe they did in Tesla, maybe. But but like maybe like your average person screws up a million times, just like your average businessman messes up a ton of businesses before they're really, really successful in one. Like Amazon operated in the negative for like 5 years before it
Right.
became fiscally solvent. So it would be like those, like that person laughing at CodeIsLaw, being like, "Oh yeah, you were wrong," to me is like the person laughing at the founders of Amazon on year 5 of them operating in the negative. Oh yeah, you're
Right.
still broke. And it's like, yeah, dude, are you laughing now? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we're gonna increase prime costs. How's that sound? How about we put ads on the videos that you pay for? Are you still laughing? You know, it was like basically it's almost monopoly at this point. It's just absolutely crazy. But I like to see the community get better with time and improve. And I think people like that don't really. That's not a positive way to go about it. Just acting like a child.
Right. On that note, dudes, chill out. Let's just quit tripping out.
I think everyone should go show Code of Law give him some props, give him an award or something. I don't know.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, I think that was a great episode. Thank you all for staying here, writing it out with us. I know this episode was fairly longer. We actually had a lot more stuff planned for this episode, but I think we how deep we got into it with some of the subject matter that we talked about, we kind of had to really get deep into it for us to really explore it. Yeah.
And then hopefully everybody likes the microphone.
Yeah, I'd love to hear feedback on that too. If you guys are on any platforms, like you can pop over to Darknet Discussions. And I don't know, do you have a contact page, Roach, over there?
Yeah, I got the contact pages at the bottom with the RSS feed. It has
Nice.
like the Jabber, it has the email, and then of course you can find. Now you can hit the email up, so I check that regularly.
Yeah, because I know a couple of people had tried to get a hold of you directly, so that's great that there's an actual solution for that. And for any of you who want to hit me up, my stuff is always in the description of the actual channel, all my socials and whatnot, usually in every video too. But big time thanks for everyone who's stuck by us and supported us, whether in the comments or downloading it out there on Apple, reviewed us on what was the deal with that? We had some reviews, you said?
Spotify we have some on Spotify. We can't read them. The only ones we can read are off the YouTubes, but everything says it's 5 stars so far.
Yeah. So we
So
definitely appreciate you guys going out there and rating us. That was really, really cool. It's like doing this. It's something we love to do and we love to talk about. But it's really cool seeing that community support, seeing everyone kind of come together and support creators in this space, because there's so few people in this space that are actually qualified to actually be in this space. So it's really nice having people support the few that are. So we appreciate you guys for appreciating us.
yeah, thank you guys.
So if that's it, I'm gonna sign off and say goodbye.
All right, man. Later.